Hey, welcome to the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute with your host, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest, Alan Bishop. Hey, this channel is all about home distilling and legal distilling. If you've got questions, reach out to us in the comments below, social media, or via bishopshomegrown@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out thealchemistcabinet.com. Hey guys, back answering your questions about home distilling and professional distilling. So, question here from Brandon Lewis. So, Alan, awesome content. I soak it up through every avenue you offer. And thanks for giving us all the info for great partners like Wayne Herbert. You guys are welcome. And thank you guys for supporting this channel. It's greatly appreciated. If you would, check out thealchemistcabinet.com. Go to the Warehouse 1. You can order all of our merchandise off there. Shirts, as well as our book and the Alan Bishop Experience DVD, and then also a historic DVD that I worked on, etc. All that money goes back into all this, because otherwise I don't make any money off this channel. It's not monetized. I don't make any money off any of the real platforms I do. This is just extra stuff I do for fun at the moment. So the only way I'm making any money off of it is through that store. Anyways, that's all done, said, now the way. Let's move on. In your recent YouTube with Justin, this would be the 3 and 30 YouTube, volume 1 or episode 1 that Justin and I did a couple weeks ago. You tasted a sample and briefly stated that the sample included some tails and needed to be hit with some air. I'm 3 years in this hobby and graduating into aging techniques and making cuts accordingly. While I have some put back in a hybrid stainless and oak container for long-term aging, most of my aging takes place with temperature-forced aging, with about 1/3 of the container with air that I open and shake with each cycle until I get it where I like it. For example, have noticed some of my smoked cherry wood barley, all grain, really round out in the jar after I took it off wood. I'd love to know more about what you meant by your comment, just wanting to make good cuts for good home-aged products. I'll shut the hell up and soak up the knowledge. So what I meant by that was, you know, those particular samples, they were not aged long and they weren't aged in large barrels or anything of that nature. And so they didn't have that air contact. So they had the extraction that they needed with the oak. In other words, the alcohol and water was able to break down the cellulose and the lignin and pull those flavors from the oak into the spirit. But they didn't have a chance to micro-oxidize the alcohol because they weren't in contact with air long enough. If they'd been a larger barrel for a longer amount of time, that air would have interacted. You'd have got some esterification out of those early tails that he left in that particular cut. Barring that, very similar to what you said, taking it off oak and having a little air in the actual jar container you have it in, shaking it up, would have helped tremendously. Or even, you know, and I wasn't a big believer in this until recently. You know, a lot of people use fish tank aerators and aerate their alcohol with that. And I've been doing a lot of that lately, especially post-aging or right at the very end of aging, and really seeing some really interesting oxidization effects from that oxidization from that fish tank aquarium bubbler hitting that alcohol and giving some very unique effects. And that's really what I was driving at, was that the alcohol was good, the cuts were good to go into a barrel, and if he'd been going into a 53-gallon barrel and had a few years, 2 to 4 years to set there, the oxidization would have been fantastic. There wouldn't have been anything wrong with the cut that he made whatsoever. But because he didn't have that micro-oxidization in that particular environment, those tails never had a chance to really esterify over time as they would if they were exposed to oxygen. So, but what you're talking about doing actually works out extremely, extremely well. So one of the other things that I do as well, I started playing around recently with the sonic cleaners. After seeing those on a particular TV show, I was curious about them, and they do resemble some technology from the late 1800s that a lot of the blending rectifying houses, particularly with rye whiskey in Pennsylvania, were using with heat and agitation as well as oxidization to get their blends to taste better, even if they lost a little bit of product via evaporation. So I've been playing around with putting oak in jars, putting that in that sonic aging machine, not sonic aging, but sonic cleaner, ultrasonic cleaning machine, whatever you want to call it, and then leaving the jar actually cracked open a little bit and allowing some air to interact in there, taking it out from time to time, tighten the jar lid down, shake it back up, then maybe even hit it with the aquarium bubbler as well to get that micro oxidization. You guys will have to ignore the noise in the background. My daughter's running around playing and doing what she does, and the dogs are running around doing the whole thing. Hold on just 1 second. Go on out, honey. Oh, you got the dog. I see what's up. Anyways, so hope that answered your question. Moving on here, see if I got another question I can get into for you. So let's see. Greg Coram question. I believe in a previous video you said something to the effect of when you run reflux stills, you start with no reflux until you have run off the 4 shots prevent smearing. In many other videos I've heard it's best to run in full reflux as you come up to temperature and leave it there for 10 to 15 minutes for the still to fully warm up, letting the volatiles rise to the top before cutting the reflux, cooling to letting them distill out. I've been doing the full reflux thing at first, but the more I think about it, the more what you said makes sense. Can you clarify this a little more? So I actually just touched on this in the previous video, but yes, I always keep the reflux off until I've removed my 4 shots in my heads and gotten them out of the system. To me, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever that you would leave those impurities in the system. Even if you think they're going to drop out of the column back into the pot, they're still there. They're still interacting with beverage alcohol that you want to keep. So for me, I would much rather take those off at the very beginning and then start refluxing, get that pure alcohol that I'm after to come across, right? The stuff that I want to keep to put in a jar for beverage alcohol, I want to be as clean as what it possibly can be, and I would prefer it not even come into contact after it's been, evaporated out of the matrix overall with the stuff that I didn't want to begin with. Moving on here, second question. As a single malt lover, I took your advice and got a 4-inch copper still with a whiskey helmet and a conical column that reduces to 2 inches before going into a shotgun. Should be called a Gatling gun. Condenser. More conversation with copper, etc. It has a tri-clamp at the top that allows me to set the line arm angle to whatever angle I want. For heavy flavor products, single malt brandy, rum, I'm guessing putting the angle up to close to 90 degrees would be good, and lowering the angle down would reduce flavors. Do you agree? By the way, your advice thus far has helped me out a whole bunch in running my new micro distillery on the far south coast of Australia. That's fucking awesome, dude. Thank you. I appreciate that. Which would not have happened at all if it wasn't for Jesse in New Zealand. That's cool. So please keep doing what you're doing. It is awesome. So yes, typically reflux arms. So you'll see this in Scotland. We talked about it. Not really reflux arms, I apologize, but adjustable arms, right? 90 up, neutral, 90 down. You'll see that a lot in Scotland on double pot still distillation, and for lighter bodied spirits, you're exactly right. 90% up, right? Or 45 up, whatever you want to say. Not 90, because 90 would be there. 45% up, right? You get a more neutral spirit because what happens is that vapor starts to rise. This line arm up here is colder than the body of the still down here, because all your heat is down here. It's not up here at the top. So you get some more condensation, and then that alcohol runs back down as reflux, meaning liquid alcohols, meaning vapor alcohol coming up, and you get that exchange of impurities falling out, proof impurity going up. Straight over, basically neutral, right? You're not encouraging reflux, but you're also not discouraging it to any great degree. And then also the 45 degree down, which is a very heavy bodied spirit. There's the other dog. They're about to get into a fight. This is going to be awesome. Anyways, 45 degree down is going to give you the most heavy bodied spirit. And you really don't often see that 45 degree down unless you see somebody that's actually running with a thumper or a doubler or a retort or something, that system. There's the other dog growling. So I'm going to wrap this up, guys, and I apologize for the shit show of a video this one's become. Anyways, as always, reach out to me, bishopshomegrown@gmail.com, thealchemistcabinet.com/thewarehouse1, which is our store where you can buy all of our merchandise, our books, DVDs, etc. Reach out to me in the YouTube comments below, and or reach out to me via social media. Thanks, guys. Love you. Later.